back to Cali, to Cali, to Cali, going back to Cali. I don't think I even left yet. And I hope I don't have to ever leave. I love California. I really do. It's like, especially San Diego and my hometown, Sacramento. I want to say hello to all my friends in Sacramento, California. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of friends, because I lived there from 1972 through 1997. 25 years in old Sacto town. Worked at Quad 106 for several years, 97 Croy. Worked at a couple big nightclubs, from Black Angus and Bobby McGee's to the Pink Cadillac in the Sacramento Hilton to the Classic Jukebox in Roseville to my favorite of all, Popeye's place in Club Sonar in old Sacramento, where I was for close to 7 years about the only DJ that ever spun tunes in that club. I would take vacations just a couple times. They were always extended, like 3 to 4 week vacations, but I think I only did that twice in my 7 years, which is why I think the owner allowed me to take long vacations, because I never took them, except the 2 times I took them. And both times I took them, I came back to the club like a month after I was gone, and the club had been, just everyone was confused, like, what the fuck's going on, man? The DJ, I mean, it actually hurt the club, but I was able to build it back up within like a couple weeks, and took that club from being a fairly popular club, in the late 80s, like 80, 89, 90, and when I started there in sometime in 90, I forgot exactly what month I started, but took that club from open 3 nights a week to eventually being open 6 nights a week for a while, but then averaging out at about 5 nights a week. But cover charge every night, when prior to me working there was only cover charge on 1 night out of the whole week. And, I don't know if Leonard is still even alive. I hope he is. I have nothing against him. He was an owner that didn't really understand a lot of things about how to make a nightclub successful. And he lost a lot of clubs in his career, lots, like more than a dozen. And Popeyes could have survived forever if I'd stayed there, and if he'd let me just play the music that I believed should have always been played. But he started interfering with the music, and now that I've bored you with my bullshit life, I'm going to enjoy some cannabis, but not smoking it. Eating it. It's been more than a week since I've had any THC in my system. So I think that, how many milligrams do I have here about? I've got I got 4, almost 5 ropes. Wow. I have about 600 milligrams here. You know what? That's perfect. Even after like a 1 week break, it's probably going to be too much for me. But I'm going to take my time and make this last an hour. So I spread it out nice. And in order to make that tolerable, you know what? I'm going to do a reaction video to a reaction video. That's a new thing. Or maybe not. This dude's, I love this dude, man. He's got a great spirit. He loves great music. He's exactly like me, except we're not exactly the same color. But you know what? Color doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Well, it does to a lot of people, and that's the crime. We should all be treated equally. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic or Asian. It doesn't matter what your religion is, even though your religion is something that shouldn't be involved, in society, except in the groups that you're in, the groups you belong to. If you want to hang out with your friends and believe in whatever God you believe in, that's super cool. Nothing wrong with that. But don't be pushing your beliefs on other people, even though that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm being a hypocrite. I'm telling you, don't do this and don't do that. But the things you want to do are the things you should do for love. The things we do for love is exactly what I'm looking forward to seeing this dude react to and listen to him. And I love that tune by 10cc. I've heard it a billion times. It's on my list of top 10,000 greatest songs ever. I don't know where it would rank, but I guarantee it's definitely on the top 10,000 songs 10,000 greatest songs ever created. Wow. What a list that's going to be when I finally publish it on my website, aliveagain420.com. Oh, this is aliveagain420. That's the name of my channel, which I do on YouTube, and I'll probably be doing it on the WeTube, TikTok, and other places as well. But don't forget, a thumbs up or a like, always appreciated no matter what platform this happens to be on, besides YouTube, but of course YouTube is the king, and thank God for YouTube. And YouTube is a saving grace maybe in my life. It's given me a purpose to even continue living. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've been on a kind of semi-suicidal frame of mind off and on for the last 5 or 6 years especially, and never before in my life for 1 second would I have ever considered suicide as even a possibility, except as I got more mature and older and more aware of, you know, the tragedies that some people have to deal with. I think the one exception for suicide, of course, doctor-assisted, you know, for patients that are in very bad pain, suffering all the time, and their lives, you know, just, the pain isn't worth the life that they have to live to endure that pain. It's just not. And luckily I've never been in that position yet. So all my problems are in my brain. The problems that are in my brain were all caused by a manufactured home park company where I bought a home about 15 years ago. And they've treated me like garbage the entire 15 years I've been there. Some of it not on purpose, but they're still guilty, they're still responsible for even that stuff, because they didn't do their job, they never did their jobs properly, and now I'm suffering the consequences of having an amazing A+ life completely shattered by the fact that they didn't give an F about me or my family. And I mean that genuinely. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't even want to think about it, because that's what's been depressing me and making me suicidal for years. And the fact that my brother got taken away from me, and my mentally challenged, physically disabled brother, who I promised I'd look after for the rest of my life and the rest of his life, and spent years and years building up a world where it would be possible for me to do that for my brother, you know, for my brother and I to be secure and semi-comfortable, you know, middle class, not upper middle class, not lower middle class, I mean directly middle class. And we could have been living the perfect middle class life for the rest of our lives, for more than 30 years. And that could still happen if the company that stopped screwing me, or if the company that was screwing me so badly stopped doing it and started treating me fairly. But they're not willing to do that, because they're evil, they're inept, and I guess they're even corrupt. They're heartless. And I don't want to talk about this bad shit. I want to have some water. And another bite of this smashed raspberry tube gummy. Each strand, each rope, each tube, each gummy, about 125 milligrams of THC. And when I finish off this bag, which originally had 5,000 in it, I'll be downing about, I forgot, maybe close to 600 milligrams worth. That's a lot, especially after like a 1 week tolerance break. Maybe even 8 days. I don't even remember the last time I had an edible. And I haven't smoked bud, by the way, for now more than 2 weeks. And I don't dab, and I don't do tinctures, and I don't do any of that other stuff, at least not the last 4 or 5 months, because I, number one, can't afford it. Number two, my life's been so destroyed and destructed, you know, that those are luxuries. That's fun time. This, I'm hoping, is a medicine. It's been a medicine for me many times over the last year. And you know, that's an important part of my story. I'm 58 years old. I'll be 60 in about a year and a half. Wow. Reason I'm talking about my age right now is because I've only been consuming cannabis for about 26 months. I bought my first bong. God, I forgot exactly when I bought it, but it was right before September of the year 2018. But I started smoking it on, do you remember, the 21st night of September? That was my very first time smoking my new bong and becoming a member of the cannabis community. And I've been doing some edibles and even some vaping, which I don't vape anymore because it's just not worth it. They're expensive, number one. Number two, who knows how safe they actually are. When I smoke organic bud in my bong, and I keep it nice and clean with smoke soap to clean all my bowls and stems, etc., and I use Res Block from 420 Science also on a regular basis, keep my bong in tip-top shape, all my glassware in tip-top shape. But when I do that, and I make sure, that it's, that I'm using clean water every single time, and I'll let that bong, I'll let that water sit in that bong for at least a day, sometimes a day and a half, 2 days, but eventually I have to dump it out, clean the bong, and with the Res Block from 420 Science, cleaning the bong sometimes takes me less than a minute to get it spotless. If I don't use the Res Block, it'll take me like sometimes 20 to 30 minutes, to get the bong clean, and it won't even be spotless. There'll still be like this, and then it's little things here and there, just a pain in the ass. I'm telling you, for the pennies a day that the Res Block and smoke soap end up costing me, and over the last year, not counting the last month or so, I'm a pretty heavy smoker. At least 1 or 2 sessions a day, at least 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes every day. Although I try to mix it up, with the edibles and the smoking. And I smoke right now. I've got marijuana with me. I've got a bong with me, but I'm in an office building where it wouldn't be cool if I was smoking the weed. It'd fill the whole building. It's a huge building. It's a four-story building, and I'd say it's got to be at least 2,000 square feet per floor, at least. As a matter of fact, what am I saying? Probably closer to like 6,000 square feet per floor. So it's a big building, not a huge building. It's not as big as the Clear Channel building that I once worked in, back throughout the 2000s. Started at Clear Channel Radio San Diego cluster in 2000. I left there in 2010. It's weird how my life works in decade fragments. My life seems to work in decade-sized fragments. And the sadness is that my story, Decade of Destruction, is the last story I have to tell and share. And you can find that if you go to aliveagain420.com. On the homepage, enter the pot cave. Inside the pot cave, 3 doorways. A doorway to a good dimension, a doorway to a bad dimension, which isn't as bad as it sounds, and will not be active for months and months, but the 3rd dimension is the ugly dimension. And behind that doorway is where you'll find my story entitled Decade of Destruction. The full title is actually Decade of Destruction, 12 years of demise, 15 years of misery. And it's a true story. It's my story, and it's available on aliveagain420.com. You know what? I'm not going to do a reaction video in this video. This video will just be me talking about my story, A Decade of Destruction, and my website, aliveagain420.com, and the fact that I'm a 58-year-old part-time stoner who's only been smoking marijuana since, like I said, September of 2018. So 26 months ago, I started smoking the pot, and I'm telling you, it has done so much to improve so many, actually I should say all aspects of my life, from the pain relief to having the ability to regain my mental focus, to be able to put the pieces of my mind back together slowly but surely. And I'm not there yet. My body is only about 50% healed. My mind is only about 75% healed. And of course, those numbers are just what's the word? Approximations? Is that a word? I swear I'm not high yet. First of all, I've only had about maybe 70 milligrams worth of THC, and I haven't had enough time to even come close to digesting those. So I'm wrapping it up with another sip of water. I'm going to send you the usual peace, love, happiness, and happiness. I want to say stay high, stay cool, stay kind, and stay woke. Black Lives Matter ain't no joke. Become an anti-racist, my friend. And did I say Black Lives Matter ain't no joke? I did, and I'll always say that. Well, not always, but usually when I say it, I'll say it that way because there's a reason I say it that way. I say it because it's a double negative, And I'm using a double negative on purpose, not to cancel out the fact that I don't think that black lives do matter, because I know they matter. So when I say stay high, stay high, stay cool, stay kind, stay woke, Black Lives Matter ain't no joke. See, the ain't is a negative, and then I follow ain't with no. Here I'm giving an English lesson, and I barely know how to speak English. But you can't say ain't no without sounding like an Okie, which, you know what, nothing wrong with being an Okie from Muskogee, because, was that a Waylon song, I think? He was cool with marijuana because he understood. The same way Willie Nelson's known for a long time, that cannabis is that magic medicine, man. Magic medicine, marijuana, magic medicine. Not a drug, you know. The government, for many, many years, I should say many decades, has made us all feel like it's an evil drug because they've tried to control us. They know that that's the power. The power of pot will save this country by redefining society and by allowing everybody to understand that we could all be so much happier and so much groovier and actually be so much more productive and so much more enlightened and so much more driven to do the best that we can do, to be the best that we can be. I'm not kidding when I say any of the things I'm saying now. I used to be this person automatically. My entire life, I was the happiest person I swear that you probably ever meet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call out to a couple of my friends to please watch this video and confirm it for me. And it breaks my heart to even let my friends know that I'm so broken. But maybe they can offer some help, and maybe that, you know, and give me some advice, you know, or maybe hook me up with a lawyer. Maybe one of my friends knows a lawyer, you know, that knows something about real estate law, you know. But I've been evicted against all fairness for situations that I didn't cause or create, that were actually caused and created by the manufactured home park that's supposed to protect my rights, supposed to, you know, not do things to harm me or my family. Yet all they've done are things to hurt me, to harm me, to hurt my brother, to harm my brother, to hurt my fiance, to harm my fiance, to hurt our future, to hurt our financial standings, to hurt our health, to hurt everything. And anyway, the friends I want to call out to, I want to see if these friends will agree that they remember me, and these are friends I've known for many years, if they remember me as being a happy person, like a genuinely happy person, like all the time, that never complained, you know, that was always, you know, generous, always willing, you know, to do my best to help my friends out, or, you know, or just be a good person, you know. And God, I'm just going on, and I'm not even stoned or high yet. That's how broken I've become. But some of the friends from Sacramento, let me just start with my cousins, Margaret and Terry and Patty. Three wonderful ladies who introduced me to Sacramento. When I moved to Sacramento, I'd been one time before when I was 2.5 years old. I came and visited with my mom, of course. My mom brought me and my brother Zane, who was literally like so young, you know, like 6 or 7 months old. But my grandparents on my mom's side wanted to meet their two grandchildren, and we were traveling all over the world back in the 60s. You know, I wasn't born in America. I was born an American because my, you know, parents are American citizens, and, you know, during the travels I just happened to pop out, and I was in a different country. But these are the countries I've lived in, and I'll just name 10 of the 20 that I've lived in or visited during the 60s. Athens, Greece, Amman, Jordan, Rome, Italy, Damascus, Syria, of all places, Kuwait City, Kuwait. Well, there's France, there's England, there's Turkey, which had Morocco, Istanbul. You know, I've even been to Iraq, lived in Baghdad only for 3 months, and those were and I was really young. I was only about 7 years old. No, I was 6.5 during the 3 months that we lived in Iraq, and I didn't want. I have actually have some semi weird negative memories about that place, just being like. Um, I wasn't aware enough to know how bad things were, and actually things weren't bad at the time in that country. It's just the weather was nasty, and it was too deserty. I mean, way worse than Kuwait. We actually ended up in Kuwait City, Kuwait, where I was 8 and 9 years old during my 2 years in Kuwait. That's the longest place I ever lived before moving to America. Prior to Kuwait City, Kuwait, like I said, there was about 10 different countries I lived in, and it's just going. My dad was an import-export, someone that wanted to get into importing and exporting, and did a lot of that as his business. And then, of course, also did real estate and some other things. But I want to say hello again, Margaret, Patty, and Terry. And the reason I'm talking about them is because they're my three cousins on my mom's side who introduced me to America. When I was 2.5 years old and visited with my brother who was 6 months old at the time, I actually have two memories from being 2.5 years old. I remember picking up a spark plug that had popped out of my grandfather's lawnmower as he was mowing this Sacramento lawn in whatever neighborhood they lived in. I don't have a clue. It was kind of like, I shouldn't even guess. I should ask my cousins. They would know. I really would love to see my cousins again. I would have seen them, I guarantee, at least every other year, if not every year, over the last 10, 11, 12 years. Except my life got so fragmented and destroyed by that damn manufactured home park that they made that impossible for me to even just go to Sacramento, take my brother to Sacramento. We would have had so many wonderful times there, and the other thousands of memories that have been lost over the last 10 years, especially because Margaret, Patty, Terry, this is what happened. My brother Zane, he was evicted 12 years ago from a brand new manufactured home that me and my brother purchased together with my dad's help. I put $25,000 of my money in. My dad put $40,000 in. Zane had a $10,000 grant from the government because of his mental and physical disabilities, and it was a place for us to spend the rest of our lives. And the intention entirely was this is going to be our forever home. And I had a woman. I still know her. I still love her. She still loves me. But as a matter of fact, she's the woman I lost my virginity to. I didn't lose my virginity until 5 days before my 22nd birthday. I was 21, almost 22, when I finally decided I was ready. And I had turned down, and it's a weird number, but it's the actual number, 13 different women prior to agreeing that I was ready with Julie, who was not a virgin, who was 2 years younger than I was, but and we had dated more than a year and a half before we finally went all the way. And now that I've shared that little bit of information, I just want to say that Zane was evicted for, and it's such a tragic story. I think he was spotted. He had just gotten a computer. I'd given him a computer, and actually given him a DVD player the year earlier for Christmas, and then I gave him a computer, I think, for Christmas of that year. But he was watching porn in the privacy of his bedroom, and I guess he'd never seen it before. And he's like 44 years old at the time, still a virgin. I'm sure of that. Not 1,000% sure, but I'm pretty sure that he still is, and probably will be for the rest of his life. And there's nothing wrong with that, But he was masturbating while watching porn, and he forgot to close the blinds on his window. And the neighbors across the street, an elderly couple, probably from Kansas City or something, in their mid-70s, were in an RV with really high back windows, and they were able to spot my brother, and they reported this to the management. The management decided they didn't want the risk of my brother, mentally challenged, and here he is masturbating, forgetting to close his blinds. And I think they were thinking that maybe because it's a family park, any park would be a problem, but we live in a family park with children, and I can understand why that would freak them out. Except what they didn't realize at the time, and I've only known this, and I've only been aware of this for about the last 8 or 9 months. The only reason the people that were even able to see my brother is because the RV that was across the street from us was temporarily put on a big hill of river rock that had not been there for the first 3 years after we purchased that home. You know, this is something the park decided to do, and they should be held liable. And I'm glad I'm sharing this bit of information, because I also want Alyssa to see this video. So I'm going to add her name to the list. But I want her to understand that it's 100% only because the park management decided to pour a big hill of river rock, and then they decided to put a really large RV with high back windows on top of this hill. This hill was directly across from my brother's window. So the elderly couples, one of their back windows on their Fleetwood manufactured, well, not manufactured home, their Fleetwood recreational vehicle, their RV, was kind of high up, and here they are on this 3 to 4 foot hill of river rock, you know, parked up there, and they're able to look down into my brother's bedroom. You know, if the RV had been the street level, it would be impossible to see down into my brother's bedroom. And this is something I did not realize and figure out until about 9 or 10 months ago. Even less, closer to 8 to 9 months ago. And I can scientifically prove that it's impossible to see into my brother's bedroom, if not for the fact that they raised an RV at least 3 feet, maybe 4 feet higher than street level, giving this couple the opportunity to peer in and see what my brother was doing. So they invaded his privacy, and I'm going to let the courts know this and get them to, because my life has been so destroyed over the last decade. You know, lost $1,000 a month roughly that would have gone into our family's estate, and so losing all that money forced me to just sell and pawn many things that I've been collecting for my whole life that were important to me and that defined me as a person. From, you know, my beautiful $5,000 stereo to, you know, all my DJ equipment, which was worth way more than $5,000, you know, to my music collection. My Super Audio and DVD audio collection was probably the biggest in the whole state of California, and I never got a chance to enjoy it because my life was so fragmented and so destroyed over the last 10 to 12 years by the eviction of my brother that they made that impossible. And wow, how long has this video been going on? Almost half an hour. I better wrap it up. But if not for Margaret, Patty, and Terry, I wouldn't have, you know, they didn't do it on purpose. They're roughly the same age as I am. You know, Margaret's about 2 years older. Terry's like 6 months older, and Patty about a year younger. And then my brother Zane about 2 years younger than I. And he has cerebral palsy, and now spasticity has been, you know, a problem for him for at least 10 years. It's actually closer to 15, but the last 10 years, it's reached the point where he's now required to use like a wheelchair or electric scooters if he's able to get around anywhere that requires walking more than 5 feet. He's becoming very disabled and will not be able to be independent any longer. They've forced him out of the house, independent on his own, when he could be enjoying life with his brother and his family, and my fiance, who'd be my wife now, and our 3 dogs, Java, Jack, and Jet. And we could have had an amazing, happy family life, but that was entirely robbed from us by not only the eviction of my brother, but by the fact that they ignored my pleasant and very courteous, repeated requests. Please remove this rebar spike near my mailbox, please. You know, I scraped my foot on it one time. My foot ended up swelling up from that scrape. It's still affected. You know, God, like it's been at least close to 8 years since I scraped my foot on that. My foot is still swollen from it. But that's not the bad thing. I eventually ended up tripping on that rebar spike, which led to my knee getting completely damaged. And I've been forced to use, I'll show you the knee scooter right here. This knee scooter, which they didn't even pay for that. They caused this injury to occur to me by not removing a rebar spike. And their attorney is now has been, in her last correspondence to me, said, according to California state law, those land lot markers aren't allowed to be removed. You know, so that's the reason it wasn't removed. Well, they eventually ended up removing it, like about 2 years after I ended up tripping on it. You know, and luckily I took pictures of it maybe a year and a half before they ended up removing it, so I have proof that it was there. with how big, I put a quarter next to it to show how big it was, because there's no way to know otherwise. At least I did that, because they're, and that's why they're not able to deny the fact that it was there, because I have pictures of it. Now, I don't have pictures of a lot of the other things that they did to me, but you know what? My life's been destroyed, and they've stolen so much from me. And if you want to read my story, again, aliveagain420.com will be my website. My story, Decade of Destruction, will be available through the Enter the Pot Cave and then the Ugly Dimension, and you'll find my story. Except that might not be up for weeks, maybe not a month or so. It all depends what ends up happening in the next couple weeks, as I've been evicted and I'm now living. Thankfully, a friend of mine has an office space for a little radio station, which I helped him work at, many years ago. And he owed me a couple favors, and he's a friend, so he's been allowing me to crash here for the last 3 weeks as I try to put my story together and try to proceed with some legal action against the manufactured home park, who did not remove the rebar spike, who evicted my brother, invaded his privacy to do so, and created that situation to allow, etc., etc., etc. But the names I'm going to just throw out: Margaret, Patty, and Terry, my cousins there in Sacramento; Gary, Zane's teacher for many years from Del Campo, and his good friend and Zane's coach, and an excellent human being, John. John will remember me as being a happy, optimistic, person full of energy and vim and vigor, and a true determination to be a good person and to really care about not only my brother, but just everybody. I'll also throw my friends cAli from Sacramento, and Gil and Amy from Sacramento, and my friend Craig from Sacramento, and my friends Heather and Laura from Sacramento, and I could go on and on. Julie, of course, she knows the true story. She knows all the details. But I just want to, those friends, please leave a comment below, and please, if you've got some tips or advice for me, my email address. I don't know what my email address is even going to be, so I shouldn't even say that. I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm pooped. Next video, I'm not going to talk about any bummer shit. I'm going to consume this. I'm going to try to lift my spirit to eliminate my physical pain and to try to be happy for the first time. And it's fake happiness, but it feels like my old self, and there's nothing more comforting than that, because I used to be such a happy person, and I miss feeling that way. This allows me to feel naturally high, even though it's not technically natural. I used to be naturally high. I guess that's the real point I'm trying to make, but ever since I've been broken, that's not been an option for me anymore. Green Weaver is signing off with another edition of Alive Again 420 here on YouTube. Please, a thumbs up or a like. Thank you very much. Peace, love, happiness, and happiness always. Stay high, stay cool, stay kind, stay woke. Black Lives Matter. Ain't no joke. Become an anti-racist. And please come back for more. Alive Again 420, right here where you are right now.